Okay, now that the windows are done, let's work on the doors. So I'm going to go into object mode, which I'm already in, hit Shift A to add another cube. I'll drag it off to the side and then start scaling it to make sure that it is a reasonable size. Just be careful as you're scaling. You might want to make sure you're kind of at a side. We want it to fit between this ledge and this little divider up here, so we want to make sure it fits within that range. Okay, so now I have it scaled down to a size that I like. Let me make sure it's somewhat centered. Okay, so now we're ready to start actually making the door. So it's a little bit bigger than the actual door because my block includes the frame. So first thing I'm going to do is to create that door frame. So I'm going to select the object, go into edit mode. Then I'm going to do I for inset. Then I don't need this bottom. I want the left and top door frames, but I don't need the bottom, so I'm going to hit 2 to go into edge select, grab that bottom edge and drag it down to get rid of it. So that leaves me then with just the left, right, and top door frame. Then I'm going to go back into face select mode, and the door frame sticks out a little bit from the door, so that means I need to extrude the door back in. So that's going to be along the y-axis, something like that. Okay, so now I have my door, and actually, depending on how we want to do these, I think that looks good. I think these panels, I'll inset those even further then. So I won't drag this in too far. The other options, we could have dragged this in even further and then brought this stuff back out, but I don't think I'm going to do it that way. Okay, so that takes care of that. Now we need to work on these panels. The panels are a bit challenging. What we need to do for those is create a bunch of loop cuts that kind of look like the panels, and then we can drag those panels or extrude them in even further. So I'm going to make a whole bunch of loop cuts. I'll hit 1 to be straight on here to see it, and then start doing Control R and positioning all those. Now one thing to note, if you look up the top left, you can see how far you're sliding them. We could make use of that to make sure that we're making all these exact. Once again, I'm just trying to do a very quick low poly game asset type model, so I'm not as worried about exactness, but you can use those as you're working to make sure they are more precise. Okay, I think I have all my panels, so you can see if I go into face select now, I have my 6 panels. So what I want to do is select the first one, then shift, select each of them, and then I'm going to kind of go to a side view a little bit and hit E to extrude and Y again and inset those a little bit more. Okay, I think that should look decent. Now it kind of looks bad with all those lines because of all the loop cuts, but if I go back into object mode, okay, this is what our door looks like. Okay, so not too bad. Probably could have made it a little bit narrower, so at this point I could probably hit scale it on the X, and I could make the door a little bit narrower now. And yeah, that looks pretty much like the one that's on this building. Okay, now it sticks out a little bit, so from this view I'm going to grab it, confine it to the Y, drag it back into my building some, and now I'm done with that door. So now let's move up to the top and look at this door. So on top of your buildings, you'll often see like air conditioning units. Some cases like this one, you've got an actual little staircase going up to get on the roof. So to do that, I'm going to show you a different way to do this, because these are typically just going to be attached to your model. They don't need to be separate. So from the top view, I'm going to select this face. Let me go into edit mode, select this face. I'm going to hit Shift D to duplicate it. Then I'm going to scale it down. And then I'll grab it, move it about where that staircase is. And then let me scale that a little bit on the Y to make it a little bit wider. Grab it. Okay, I like it right there. Then I'm going to hit E to extrude it. Okay, then I'm going to do a loop cut on it. I'll do about right there. Then to make this angle, I'm going to hit 2 to do edge select. I'm going to grab that, confine it to the Z, drag it down, and there we go. Now I've got that basic shape of a staircase coming up out of a roof. Then, using the same method, I'm going to go back into face select. I'm going to select that. I'm going to do Shift D to duplicate it, scale it. Okay, I think that looks decent for a door. So now I'm going to hit E and extrude it back in a little bit. Okay, so I now have my rooftop door. And then you could use the same method to make air conditioning units. You could grab a rectangle, Shift D, scale it, extrude a little bit, make it look like an AC unit or whatever. The downfall of doing this with some of this stuff, like the windows, if I go back into object mode and now let's say, okay, I want to duplicate this, well, notice it's attached to the building. I can click on these individually. The door's an individual object, but this, because the fact that I just grabbed a surface, is actually now attached to that building. So that is the only downfall of using that. So you want to be careful when you use that method, but it is a nice little shortcut rather than going into object mode and creating another cube. Alright, so now we are ready to start looking at the stairs and the plants in the front, so we'll do that in the next video.